Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly live room at binary.com. We're going to start, of course, at 8 a.m. UK time. As always, we're going to take a look at the Forex market and XAU USD. First of all, though, the risk disclaimer explaining that trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. And this webinar is for educational purposes only. So thank you for your attention on that. Well, we're going to take a look at what 2014 has done so far. We had a very interesting development. End of 2013, lots of dollar weakness, but 2014, the start of that, immediately started with dollar strength, in fact. So let's see how that all shapes up on our charts. First of all, as always, I have to explain that this is a live webinar, but you can see the recording if you register at blog.binary.com/weekly trading room, and you'll get an email when this recording is ready, when the recording is ready, after the live session. Today's goal, we're going to take a look at the economic calendar, the euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, AUD USD, and XAU USD. Alrighty. So this week, well, today we have an Italian bank holiday. Otherwise, we have Fed chairman nomination vote and the ISM PMI for the dollar. This week we have a very important, in fact, week because we have ADP for the USD, but also FOMC meeting minutes for the USD. That's on Wednesday, January 8th. Very important. We also have Thursday the pound and euro bank rates plus press conferences, and Friday we have non-farm payroll plus unemployment rate for the USD. So you can see a mega big week. Normally it's either FOMC or NFP. This week has both, so that will have certainly its impact on the dollar, right? From the dollar perspective, very important if the Fed is going to continue with its tapering and how much. These numbers will give some clue whether that tapering is going to happen quickly, fastly, or slowly, and how much. Let's take a look at the technicals though. The euro dollar weekly chart, and we can see the weekly was at a resistance spot. We have this brown line there, and the price did respect that and is now moving down. So that is in a way logical that we had some respect here because of this big resistance. This purple line too indicating resistance. So that was a big level. That was a big resistance level. A break above it still merits an upside trade up to the next 78.6 Fibonacci fib at 143 and the magenta trend line potentially, or the 886. That doesn't look like it's happening right now. You can see the euro dollar is moving to the downside. So let's talk about the downside potential because the upside still in play, but not going to happen maybe sometime soon, as we can see. So let's talk about downside. Currently, though, downside is still within this uptrend channel. Look at the green lines, definitely indicating the potential here for a bounce to the upside because we are still in this uptrend channel indicated by the green lines. We did break below the blue uptrend channel. So there is some reversal going on, as you can see, of course, but this is still a bouncing spot maybe for upside. We are also at the 38.2 fib, and the 50 fib could also be support. We could put a fib on this up move as well, by the way, and then we see that we're actually pretty close to the 50. However, because of the speed that we are moving down, we cannot assume that price will necessarily bounce here. It may, but it could also break. We're at a bounce or break spot, right? The break could at least challenge this bottom potentially, if not fall to this bottom, or even to the bottom of this purple line. That's what could happen as well. So if that were to happen, we would fall back to the purple line and then maybe bounce. And if we were to continue, then we would have a break below this purple down to the red line. So these are the spaces here, as you can see, potentially with some support, of course, in between from a lower time perspective. Those are these options here, or the path of least resistance for the euro dollar. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, you can see price here also potential support because of this horizontal level right here, like that. And I'll just move this one a bit higher, something like that. So will this be a bounce or will we break through it? That remains to be seen. If you, let's zoom into the 1 hour chart, and you can see this has already traveled quite a lot. So maybe now that we've had a bit of a divergence here, we could be in a bouncing spot, but we would need a confirmation of that because the problem is that price could extend further than we think, and a confirmation, for example, above resistance, such as a 4 hour resistance. We don't have any 4 hour resistance. The last one fractals way here. So I would personally let it bounce, make a fractal here, then let it retrace, and then I have two clear lines in the sand. I have lines in the sand. Sorry. We have a level at the bottom and a level at the top. Let one of those two break, and we know which one is probably the winner. And that answer might not happen this week. Also, we have, of course, FMOC and NFP, so this week might be a slower week, but something that, of course, could speed it up upon the release of those news events. That's definitely what could happen this week. Slow week up to the news releases. Then when the news release happens, that will be the catalyst for price action to move forward. That happens often with these news events. That could happen this week as well, especially if there are two big news events like this in a row. Pound dollar is somewhat similar. The difference here with the pound dollar and the euro dollar is that the euro dollar was at resistance. The pound dollar actually broke through it. After it's paused at the trend line and made a bull flag, a small bull flag here, it broke through it and almost hit the 272. It was really very close of hitting that target. And just a tad off it, but maybe if I even move this fib just a bit higher to the correct spot, no, doesn't really matter. It's just a tad of miss, but that can happen sometimes that the target is just missed. In any case, you can see there's also a bigger resistance right above. That is the monthly top, so very important level. So here too, though, despite the fact that this trend line was broken, there was higher weekly, monthly resistance close by on the pound, just like the euro dollar. The euro dollar, though, although it's still in its uptrend channel, right? If we look at the euro dollar, we still see those green lines. The pound dollar even has more support. Why is that so? Well, first of all, we have these tops, and I'll make this horizontal line green so it's clear. Of course, these broken tops could provide support like it did already here. The trend line that was broken could provide support. This bottom in here could provide support. Plus, these bottoms could provide support. So definitely many bouncing spot potentials here, later here, and even at the 38.2. Those are all bouncing spot potentials for more upside. If the 38.2 gets broken, then there is a decent chance, I would say, to eventually get back to the bottom of this, the triangle, the bottom of this purple line. And if we break the first green area, then we could fall like this, potentially continue that fall. So this is the path of least resistance. I would say once we move up, though, if we move up, there is a potential to fall as well. But if we do break above, then we're in a breakout scenario. So this is the tree, I would say, and the path of least resistance on the cable. So despite the bearish price action here, we can see wicks, we can see bearish twin, in fact, or no, this is a 3-line break candlestick pattern on the weekly chart. So some downside momentum from a lower time frame could happen, but we have to be aware that this is counter trend. Looking at the daily chart, the price is moving down, but it is counter trend. And the problem with that is that it could turn at any spot, basically. Although from an hourly perspective, here too we see a lot of downside momentum, so it could go further. This was a big down move, and if we look at the fib here and place the fib on the first hourly correction, the minus 618 target is at 162.90. I think looking at that, there's a good fair statistical probability that price could fall down to that level and then probably bounce off that spot. So back to the 4-hour chart, and if we look at that 1 hour perspective and 4 hour perspective, that minus 618 target ties into this support level, as we said, the green and purple here. So does the minus 1000. So any of these 162.90 or 162.20, I would say could be bouncing spots for more upside. And then we'll have to see, does this uptrend continue, or will we continue and reversal, will we continue, or will we make a bigger reversal to the downside? So something like this. Is possible. All right, down, up, or down, up, down, basically. Good. In any case, as I said, the most important for the moment is that this is still a bouncing spot, and we could have downside pressure to that spot. And after that, there could be some bullish recovery, but we'll have to monitor how price really responds to the level. Is it impulsive? Does it move up fast? That depends whether this is more upside or downside. It really depends also on the news announcements this week and how price responds to this level. Is it fast, slow? Then we can judge more clearly about the longer term perspective. AUD USD. Alrighty, let's take a look at the weekly. Had a bit of a bullish bounce, in fact, at the bottom here. So the bottom hasn't been broken and provided support for the AUD USD to the upside. Now that is in tune, of course, with the dollar index that was in fact bullish last week, but this is actually upside. Sorry, it's the other way around. Excuse me. This was actually downside, of course, very big downtrend on the AUD and dollar strength, but the AUD recovered a bit last week at the bottom. So let's see if this is just a retracement for more downside, or is it a double bottom and a bigger bounce? That remains to be seen, although from a weekly perspective, looking at this big downside momentum, I think some more downside eventually is possible. The question is just from which level. We have to be careful not to pick the reversal for more downside too soon, but I do think that if we put a fib like this, for example, that this 50, as you can see, was already resistance. The 61.8 would be resistance. I think there's a lot of resistance here, and any of these fibs could be the downside potential for more downside. You can see here the 50 stopped it already, and we could see maybe one more move up to the 61.8, but any of these fibs could be more downside down to the 85 level. And we can put a trend line like this maybe to have an idea when that might happen. You can see this is more looking like a bear flag, if anything. And the 50 fib itself could already be the starting spot for more downside. All right. Now, the only thing why I'm a bit hesitant and cautious is because we bounce off this bottom. That could always lead to a bigger bounce. So we have to be careful about that. That bigger bounce and then downside, or is it a smaller bounce and then downside? Of course, the break below this green line would be the confirmation that we could probably fall to 85. Let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. You can see this resistance line working very nicely. Price is making some impulses here. So maybe one more left to create divergence. One more push up to the 61.8 would, I think, have a good, decent chance of seeing some resistance. The question is how much. Could be all the way down here and then down, or could be just a small one for one more upside. That depends how big this retracement will become and will turn out to be. The bearishness for me is clear. The question is, will it be from here, from here, from here? Any of these three spots could be it. That's 90-30. That's this top in here is 91.70 approximately. Let me make that a red, not to confuse. Or could it be at around 92.80? Right. So all these levels basically all these three levels major resistances in my opinion, and could be the turning spots. And of course, the confirmation is below the green line. Let's take a look at the dollar yen. The dollar yen has been, of course, in a grand uptrend as this 4-hour chart is showing. We can adjust that channel just a bit like this, and we can see that we're potentially at the bottom of that uptrend channel. So this itself could be a bouncing spot for more upside. The confirmation of such could be, for example, a trend line like this, connecting the tops. A break above that trend line could indicate the continuation of the uptrend. If price were not to continue, but actually break below this uptrend channel, then I still think it's bullish. We've broken this top 103.70, so a hook back and a bounce off that top is likely. We should make this, in fact, now green to indicate the support, the potential support at that level. Even if that level doesn't hold, we have support here and support here. So there's no reason for me to doubt this uptrend. This has lasted for very long, since mid-October, in a very nice channel. Any move off and bounce, any move down basically is still a retracement and could see continuation bounces off those green lines. The only reason for me to change this bullish view is a break below this green line, the very last green line, and then somehow this bullish breakout to the upside didn't last as long as I thought, and I would change my view. Unless that happens, I'm seeing this as a bullish breakout. We've already talked about the bullishness ever since mid-October and the potential to move up. That has happened as well. I don't see any reason to change that analysis and view at the moment. We definitely see an uptrend channel. We see a strong breakout, a strong momentum. These are support levels. We're still in the uptrend channel. So either these will be the bouncing spots, or we just continue in this uptrend channel and break above the purple for more upside. From a weekly perspective or daily perspective, you can see the uptrend here, the pause, and we've been breaking above the purple triangle in this blue channel very nicely. And if we look at the target of the minus 272 target, because we bounced off the 38.2 fib, that is at 111, so I see a good chance of reaching that, or let's say 110 to be on the sure side. Even maybe 109 could be a small resistance level. But until 109/111, there is a high chance for price to get there in this uptrend. Once we reach 109/111, of course, there is that chance for price to stall or retrace, right? But up to that target, I think upside is likely, at least as long as we stay above 101.60. So that is the main target of the weekly chart in this red zone there. Good. That's the dollar yen uptrend. So what next? We talked about the euro. We talked about the pound. Yes, we did. The odd and the dollar yen. Then the only thing remaining is the XAU USD. Gold got, in fact, this is the weekly chart, got a second week of a bullish candle. Last week had more muscle than the week before though, and that could be the bounce off the double bottom, and we are trying to push through this downtrend channel from the daily perspective. All right, so it looks like this has given some reason for a bounce, potential double bottom, so we have to see how far this can go. For me to have more faith in upside, I would still need to see a break above resistance like these two red lines. If we do break above it and hook back and continue, then some upside until 1360 and 1430 seems likely. If price were not able to do that, then this could still continue with this downtrend. We would need a break below this support level though, below 1177, to have more faith in a good continuation, or 1180 to have more faith of good continuation to the downside. Well, that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for being here. This was our first webinar of 2014. So a lot of dollar strength so far in the first days of 2014, but of course we have a lot of news events, and the year just started out, so a lot of things can happen. And next week we'll be back, of course, next week Monday, 13th of January, live at 8 a.m. But if you want to get an email when the recording is ready so you can watch anytime, then look at this link, blog.binary.com/weekly trading room, and you can register yourself there. So thanks again and see y'all soon. Cheers.